Okay. Well, we're recording, so I think we can just kick it off. And I think straight off the bat, maybe I'll turn it over to Carson if you are good with that.
Sounds good. Yeah, good by me. Everyone, thanks for joining on a Friday here. Got a lot of stuff to cover as we gear up for V2 launch here. So five main topics we're going to hit today. First, we're going to give an update on V2 launch window as the team is all amped up and gearing up for this. Second, we're going to be going into tokenomics and sort of planned value accrual to toke going into V2. We'll have a brief kind of update on how V1 will evolve into V2. Then we're going to go into a demo of sort of what the V2 website is looking like, the current version. And then last, we'll have a little bit of update on the marketing plan and all the stuff that's being pulled together behind the scenes right now, which we'll have in time for launch here. So I think to start here, let's go ahead and kick off with launch window. I think someone on our side is going to bring up a one pager here, or else throw it into the channel.
Bruno, let me know if it's not. Is this the?
Yeah, as I said, I just updated, and now the permissions aren't set for it.
Okay. Is this
Okay.
is what you shared with me, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna share my screen.
Cool.
Share your screen. Go live. Okay, let me know if everybody can see this. You might have to click on the tile of my screen to maximize it. But it looks like it's working to me. Working for everybody else?
Yep. I got it on my end.
All right, sweet.
Yep. All right, cool. And we can drop this into one of the channels afterwards too, but hopefully you guys can see it now. So to kick off,
Reactor chat, right?
Awesome. So to kick off, we're excited to announce the first piece of Autopilot will be deployed to mainnet before the end of November. This is what we call the stats smart contract, which is really important for gathering real-world data, real-world on-chain data for some final testing here going into launch. We'll probably have maybe Cody mentioned a few words on that in a second. Then really going from there into the alpha launch and the full launch here, it's really just a few steps that all are security-based things. So we have formal verification. We've got completion of a pricing and security update. This is all in the finalization testing phase here. Final internal integrations and fuzz testing. And then we'll be doing an alpha launch and then the full Autopilot launch. What the first piece going out end of November, all the rest of these pieces will be giving you guys an update each week on exactly where we are in the things, how they're going, so that you can track week to week as we go into the alpha launch. So excited to be going in here in the next couple of weeks into kind of the launch window here, and you'll be hearing a lot more from us and each week getting an update, probably along with the weekly rollover updates. We'll be giving you an update on where we are on the sequencing, how the testing, kind of final testing stuff's going. And yeah, you'll be hearing a lot more from us from now till alpha. So we will throw this in, I think Connor already might have, but into one of the channels.
Once I'm done screen sharing, I'll drop it in there. Just
perfect.
The screen share.
Perfect. So that means that we have a lot of things sort of to start getting the community up to speed on with V2, starting with tokenomics and what this means for Toke as we go into launch. So as Tokemak unveils Autopilot and we go into V2, we're going to have a couple phases to get to our kind of final state tokenomics for Autopilot. Phase one is going to be all about taking the value that is generated from Autopilot and accruing that value up to toke holders. So the plan is to do this via the ACC toke mechanism that many of you are already familiar with. And the cool thing here is even when we get to alpha, where the POA is being deployed, the plan is that your ACC toke will actually be accruing auto toke, which is auto ETH, which is actually deployed ETH that's earning yield. So as soon as we get to alpha, people will be able to actually interact in a cool way with the V2 system. So that's kind of phase one, is making sure that the value starts accruing up to toke holders via ACC toke. Phase two is going to be the addition of new utility to toke. Phase two is going to kind of have a return of liquidity direction in a slightly new format. whereby if you're locking through what we currently call ACC Toke, we may have a slightly new name by then. I won't reveal it now, but with ACC Toke, if you're locking the tokens, you're going to be able to not only increase rewards for yourself staking Toke, but also be able to do sort of a boosted liquidity directing mechanism, whereby you'll be able to flow rewards to specific LMPs. And so there's a very cool sort of feedback loop between Toke staking and then actually putting your ETH to work in Autopilot, where you'll be able to get more yield out of the LMPs if you're also staking and boosting your Toke. So I'll go ahead and maybe throw it over to Sharp here, or Bruno, if you guys want to go kind of any deeper here on our design principles within this. As a quick heads up, we're going to be sharing some docs with diagrams on this over the next couple of weeks. But right now, as we're finalizing a few design choices across the team, might be useful if they talk about the different design principles that are going into what kind of this phase 2 or end state of tokenomics is going to look like for V2.
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys hear me?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Hello?
Gotcha.
Okay. So as Carson was saying, this is split into 2 different phases. So phase 1 is already formally defined. Phase 2 is going to be later added. And this brings a lot of learnings from DeFi. So it brings learnings not only from the V-token model, but also from its evolutions. So if everyone is already familiar with the V-token model, you have these 3 main pillars, which is voting on gauge weights, meaning that you direct emissions to gauge weights. In addition to that, you earn revenue from the overall system, for example, for VCRV holders. And then the third pillar is really boosting for LPs. This is what creates the demand side from LPs that want to lock tokens or third-party protocols that do so in order to socialize boosts. Now, looking at the things that work and don't work with the V-token model, there were new iterations. And one of those iterations is focused on splitting the revenue distribution at a gauge weight specific level. So what does this look like for our system? In our system, this would look like something like ACC directs incentives, right, for the different LMPs that are present on Autopilot. And a toke holder could, for instance, lock his toke and direct incentives either to Auto ETH, Auto ETH2, etc., all the various LMPs that are present. Then in addition to this, as you are participating in the system and voting on the reward direction or incentives direction to the LP side, you are earning shares from the respective LMP in which you're voting on. So the real goal here is to ensuring that there is full alignment between the reward sharing that the LMP is generating and the emissions that you are directing. Meaning that if you are directing emissions to an LMP that is not producing optimal rewards for the system, you as a toke staker will also earn less shares from that respective LMP. And then in addition to this, you also have the introduction of boosting. So boosting is extremely important to essentially incentivize the demand side for locking, meaning that LPs that want to have boosted yields, they are incentivized to do so, or third parties that might want to socialize this boost for depositors into LMPs. So thinking about these 2 different perspectives, it's always breaking apart the system between the LPs and the token holders and make sure that they are fully aligned on both sides. And then the final piece is really the lock time, which is variable and kind of determines the weight for the reward distribution in the system as well as the boosts. So with this adaptation, we create a very elegant system that perfectly fits the architecture for Autopilot. And in addition to this, it's very important to emphasize that this reward sharing, it's always done in LMP shares, meaning that what's being distributed to toke holders that decide to lock their tokens and participate in the system are yield-bearing shares that are already optimally deployed across all of our option sets and remain productively active in the system. Hopefully what we'll see is that this really promotes the retention of the rewards that are generated by Tokemak in the platform itself, as toke holders realize that there is no better place to deploy your ETH.
A couple
I
things
think
to.
that kind of
Sorry, did I interrupt you? I couldn't hear what you said there.
no, I think that kind of covers the overall rationale for this. And this is really an end state. So focusing on V1, which is what is already fully defined, as Carson was saying, it's kind of consolidation back into ACC in this transition period. And obviously, it doesn't make sense to invest engineering efforts into the tokenomics when the priority is really the product deployments. So for the foreseeable future, you'll see this consolidation into ACC with the neat twist, which is elegant in my opinion, of instead of distributing with, you'll distribute, for example, auto ETH, which again is recaptured by the system, and it ensures that everyone as a stakeholder is also participating on Autopilot.
Yep, well said across the board. Couple things to layer on that. So when I mentioned liquidity directing before, it's interesting because in the boost model that Sharp was just talking through, you actually are able to attract more liquidity. This has to do with where the effectively internal emissions that are generated by Autopilot are, a portion of those are routed, and we have some levers there that we'll be rolling out in diagrams soon. But you are able to attract more liquidity into specific LMPs via that boosted vote that happens. And again, that's why you do get this liquidity directing effect as well. And there'll be some more things that we're going to be doing with that over time that we'll be sharing with you as well. So that gives you kind of an idea there. Another thing is sort of a general guideline is when we are distributing rewards in the system, we like them to be distributed as auto ETH and ACC toke so that they are sort of optimally deployed, as Sharp said, in the system, whether that's into toke staking or in the ETH deployments into the LMPs, like via Autopilot. One more piece, Sharp, anything else to say on that? Otherwise, I have one thing that I forgot to do earlier.
I think that it's just good to emphasize that under this system, TVL growth, meaning emissions for the LP side, they are very positively correlated, meaning that they proportionally increase the reward distribution to locked toke holders. So obviously, meaning that there is a fee on all of the LMPs. If you increase this TVL, the respective reward generation that accrues to locked token holders, and again, it's LMP specific, also increases. So this feedback loop, this positive feedback loop, is a sustainable one, and it's a great improvement versus the phase one for tokenomics.
Maybe at some point you could touch on something that you said to me sort of in conversation, which is that this is V2 generally is a natural extension of sort of the mission statement of Tokemak from the earliest days. That always gets me pretty excited about it. I mean, it's not definitely like right, like it's really an evolution and a refinement.
Yeah, Tokemak V2 is a new system that comprises these two different products, right? So Autopilot, it's an LP-facing product, and the liquidity marketplace is just a new way for DAOs to rent liquidity. But it fully comprises both of the stakeholders that we had originally on Tokemak, which is, again, LPs and DAOs. So it's very consistent on that regard. And in addition to this, it's also worth emphasizing that DAOs are also interested in using Autopilot itself. Like, for instance, we communicate a lot with several ETHLST protocols, and there is one of them that keeps on asking me, when is it possible to create their own LMP? So imagine that you have ETHLST XYZ. They can create an LMP that integrates their pools that are present, for instance, on Balancer, Curve, and Maverick, and it only rebalances by their own LST. This means that the protocol doesn't need to incentivize individually all of these pools, and they can incentivize this at our LMP level. So whenever you hear LMP, what you are hearing is actually a superset. And the superset is just an option set that includes a lot of individual pools that are inside of it. And this is really what LP aggregation is all about. Instead of having this old paradigm where people go individually to each single DEX, they cross-check and compare all the different pools and all the different yields, you start to LP to the option set that aggregates all of them. So you not only outperform all of the individual pools, but you also fully abstract all the underlying complexity in terms of the different AMM designs, the existing trading pairs, the existing fee structures, etc. And you also mitigate the switching costs. So this is really what we're offering here, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
And not only that, if you look at the actual underlying tokens that it's providing liquidity for, we're obviously getting started with Auto ETH and LSTs first, but this can be expanded to stablecoins, RWAs, and back to governance tokens, where governance tokens can be combined into an LMP based on their volatility profile. So kind of getting back to what Paul was saying, there's a very cool way where this sort of becomes a superset of the solution that that Tokemak V1 had, but now is able to do a lot more things for a much broader user base and market cap base.
You mentioned something
one thing
very important, Carson,
Mhm.
which is that as you aggregate new asset classes, like for example, right now we're focused on ETH, then you expand to stables. Then, for instance, you can have LMPs for different CRV tokens, right? I mean, CRV derivative tokens. So what I want to make clear with this is that locked token holders, they can then choose from all of these options what they want to be paid in as the underlying. Meaning that if you are voting, for example, to a ETH LMP, you're going to receive in that underlying, so with the same exposure to ETH. If you want to be paid with exposure to USD, you can stake then to USD LMP. And I think that this was already revealed by Carson, the Auto ETH, Auto SD branding. So all of these tokens are yield-bearing, and you can choose then your exposure as we start to expand to other asset classes. But a lot of work in the meanwhile, obviously.
Yeah, as Sharp was saying, like basically having the auto prefix, makes it to a user just as simple as interacting with, say, Lido and getting ST ETH. Now they can go to Tokemak and get Auto ETH. So even though it's a very different product under the hood, and in fact is deploying down into ST ETH and other LSTs, it becomes a very, very user-friendly experience, and something that DeFi users are now sort of used to, getting back Auto ETH as their yield-bearing tokens. A couple other quick things I'll mention before. Cody, I want to make sure I come back to you, because I'd mentioned I was going to let you have a moment to talk about the data collection on-chain piece, and then I fold right through it. One is, Sharp had mentioned that the goal right now is to launch the product and then refine the tokenomics, meaning when we were talking about phase 1 and phase 2 of tokenomics, the value accrual to ACC toke is what we'll be doing in the upcoming launch here of Autopilot in Tokemak V2, and then we'll be working in this phase 2, which we're going to be sharing a lot more. So that will come sort of after launch. It's most important that the new product provides the value that we know it will to DeFi broadly, and then you work in the really cool tokenomics that we've developed, and we'll be sharing more. Other thing I'd say is, really you can think of Autopilot, at least Auto ETH for Ethereum, as sort of putting ETH maximally to work. So if you think about like sort of Ethereum staking with then liquid staking on top of that with the different baskets of different buckets of LSTs, and then aggregating those out across the different liquidity pools. When you go into Auto ETH and Autopilot, you're putting your ETH to work not only in securing Ethereum, but also spreading that out most optimally as determined by trading fees, so trading activity, and incentives based on where liquidity is needed to provide liquidity, plus also go into these various LSTs as tranched together in a specific LMP. We've got a lot of acronyms going now. And so the cool thing is, the reason that you can get so much more yield for an ETH holder that goes into Autopilot is you've put your ETH sort of to work maximally, which is a pretty cool thing. Okay, I think rather than me continue to drone on, maybe I throw it over for a second to Cody. Cody, I mentioned at the beginning, sort of on the first step of the launch window here being the deployment of the stats contract before end of November. Do you want to share a little more kind of on why that's so critical, especially as we're kind of doing the final kicking the tires on our strategy, and what that exactly enabled us to do kind of between now and proper alpha launch?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. So the stats contracts, they're really kind of the brain behind a lot of this, that and the strategy. And the reason that they need to be out on mainnet so early is that the system's kind of self-learning. And so it uses a lot of historical data to make its decisions about where we're going and what assets we want to be in, and how much we think we're going to earn on those assets. And so to really be in like kind of a full launch where we have enough data to make the proper decisions, where we're not being so too conservative, which we will be in the very early stages. That's why we want to get it out there now, so that we can kind of make better decisions and more quick decisions. But we need the data to do that, so we're going to push it out now and give us that time to evaluate what we're seeing, making sure that we agree with what we're seeing and that it's working like we think it should, so that when we start putting assets in it, we can have full confidence in the data that we're seeing and can move the assets around in the safest way possible.
I think, Cody, that it's also very helpful to explain to the community why this is not possible on testnet, and we actually need to test this on mainnet, which is something that I understood on Discord that a lot of people don't understand.
Yes, that is very important. We'd actually started going down the path of testnet, trying to get it stood up, and we started looking at all the integrations that we had. We're deploying to Curve, we're deploying to Balancer, to Maverick. We've got Convex and Aura in there as well. And some of these have testnet setups in different capacities. There's LST tokens on testnet, and they sort of represent what happens on mainnet, but not really. And so to really have the whole thing working, we'd have to be mocking a lot of data, or migrating a lot of data, or setting up our own fork network with our contracts deployed, where we're trying to put realistic looking data out there to really have those stats contracts do their work and have realistic results. And the end result is just, we have data, but would it be data representative of what we'd see on mainnet? Probably not. So why we'd be testing kind of the functionality of the contracts, we wouldn't really be testing the spirit of what we're actually trying to do. And so going to mainnet is really our best option to get the most reliable results and have the most confidence that we can moving into this alpha launch.
So testing in prod, and that's the reason that there's this launch window where we get that out, then we deploy in alpha the POA, because we want to make sure that by the time not only do we have the audits, which we have and are continuing to add more to, but also that we have sort of the full track record. So we feel good about this approach. So one more. Anything else on that, Cody? Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I think that covered it.
Awesome. So one more brief one here, and then we're going to jump to the demo here, I think. So that'll be a fun part of the call here. So as we go from V1 to V2, just expect you'll see some detail in addition to each week giving an update on between sort of the deployment of those and then the alpha launch, exactly where we are in that chart that we threw in the chat, I think, a little bit ago. We will also be doing some emissions updates to sort of roll over the system from V1 into V2. So I think next week we'll probably have the first announcement in Discord on those and sort of what the plan is to evolve from V1 into V2. And that's important to make sure that V2, we bootstrap it and we get the TVL we want day one with our initial campaign. The next thing, I think, is, yes, demo now. So let's maybe jump over. I think, Victor, maybe you're going to take us through the current version of the V2 site.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, we are going to share like the insights that we got from the OpenUX research, and I'm going to share the demo. Wait a second. So mainly what we have encountered, that the value prop was clear, but we had to make it more clear for the users in different points of the app. Then we also encountered that the liquidity flow, which is one of the parts that explains this, was very clear to the users. Then we also found out that the flows of deposit and withdrawal can be improved. So that was a shocking thing, but we are working on it. And also that there is a lot of excitement for the Toka lock, and also for the dashboard, how was showcased. So let me share my screen.
And something worth noting, Vic,
Mhm.
is that the version that we're showing on the demo isn't the latest version, right? I think that you're also going to share that one and then kind of compare them.
Yeah, I'm going to share what we had before the research and what we are at the current state that we are right now. And what the link that we are going to drop is what was done before the research. So that link is not the current state, but how it looked before the research.
Yeah, that's great. This way people can also kind of see the evolution that happened to the user research.
Yeah, going to share now. There you go. Let me know when you can see the screen, guys.
I can see it.
Yep.
All right. So this is the version that we were showing to the users. As you can see, this is the homepage, and basically we have the autopilots here with different assets. We have some section to explain the users different things of Tokemak, and then frequent asked questions. And some of the improvements that we made here were on the copy. So as you can see here, which is the evolution that we are currently working on, we have a copy from the marketing side that was more clear to the users. We have changed some metrics, and we added a new section for the autopilots that were invested on, with a few improvements on the rewards and hover states. But we have kept the learn section and the frequent asked questions too. And also the main app, we have made a reward feed where users will be able to claim their rewards. Also a video for how it works, which was a thing that we saw that the users were looking for. Yep. And then here we have a detail of what we had on their user research. Right now, what you can see here is this is a detail page for this autopilot specifically. And we had some tabs that the user were not able to click through. So this is how it looked. But as you can see right now, over the last month, we have been doing some improvements. So we have pushed at the top like some highlights on the autopilot features that you can see here, some explanation of the autopilot, also some improvements on the chart, and make more clear the position if you are on this autopilot. As you can see also here as a comparison, we don't have the tabs anymore. We have bring everything to a single page, and we are able to see an allocation breakdown to how the liquidity is deployed to the pools, the audits too. Yeah, go ahead.
A quick comment here, Victor. This perfectly illustrates to any depositor into an LMP all the exposure that they need to be aware of. So here, what you can see on the liquidity diagram, it's your exposure in terms of assets. So the assets that you're currently allocating to, like for example, RETH, STETH, etc., and the DEXs that you are allocating to. And so then the option set is the combination of pools that include both these assets in these DEXs, and this gives you that detailed information.
Yeah, and also we are working on make this interactive. So basically, we'll have more data on Hover. We are currently working on how to make it more interactive for the community, so you can see everything. But also we have like a breakdown for token protocols and pools if you wanted to see it on a list view. And then we have the audits of the underlying protocols and LSTs. All right. And the dashboard. All right. So this is what we presented to the users on the research. There was like some minor problems seeing what this meant. And the log positions too, how they were presented on these rows. So we have been, this is the current version that we are working on. So basically we will have the total account balance and more portfolio looking. As you can see, we are also changing to portfolio, the main app, and the allocation, the asset allocation has a pie chart, which is more entitled to users to receive as a portfolio. There was some confusion on the user research. And also here, one thing that we have been adding is improvements on the chart. As you can see from the previous one, there was some confusion because we were using the primary color from Tokemak. So we are changing the colors to make it even more clear for the users that it's not because of the color of Tokemak. Then we have split the different sections more clearly and implement some of the feedback from the users. So as you can see on the right, we have the rewards, which are more claimable, which are claimable, and at the withdraw, supply, and some expandable, that will give you more data of your autopilot that you can see here, and then you can go back to the main page, the detail page of that specific autopilot. So right now, this is the state over the last month that we are working on. And we will be sharing the link to this version, which I repeat is the previous one, not the current one that we are working on.
One quick question, Victor. Mm-hmm. On the current one, when you look at the chart, are those points the moments when you conduct liquidity rebalance?
No, these ones, because this is your account, this is an exploration that we are doing of the deposits and the withdrawals. So for example, here, you supply to AutoETH at this point, so you make a supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had that conversation regarding showing, for example, the liquidity rebalances. And I think that this is a good time to remind that, for example, the early stages of yield aggregators, they were very simple. And what these aggregators would do, it would simply be at the pool level, the auto-compounding of the rewards, meaning that they claim rewards and they auto-compound them to the underlying. What Tokemak does here, it's both at the pool level, it still does that, but at the same time, it also reallocates liquidity between all of these different pools. And it's this cross-pool rebalancing that is truly new to DeFi, because suddenly you don't have a static liquidity exposure, you have a dynamic exposure across the option sets.
And so I believe then, to summarize here, Victor, you're saying that not the latest one that's still being hammered out, but the last stable one, that's the version that we're going to, I think, drop a link for everyone in the community following this call, so you can go in, click around, and play in the version of the V2 site.
Yeah, that's right. We are going to share this one, which is the one that we had last month, and it was tested with users. So you can send us feedback too on this one, so we can add it to the new one, as Tepit is saying on the channel. All feedback is welcome.
It's also worth noting, just I don't know if this was already said, but just that this demo website, you're not going to be connecting your MetaMask. There's just like a fake dummy MetaMask account. It's not even like a testnet thing. It's just for the purposes of understanding the user flow experience. So when you click connect, you'll see like a fake MetaMask pop up. Don't be alarmed. It's not going to steal your assets. You can even use it on an incognito mode so that it wouldn't trigger any accounts. But just want to put that out there. And then also there's like a couple links that, you know, aren't linking you anywhere yet. Like links to Medium articles or explainer videos or anything like that. Those aren't connected to the demo site. So just putting that out there so that everybody's aware.
Awesome. Thanks for taking us through that, Victor. And yeah, everyone take a test drive through there, and then definitely share any feedback or questions that you have for us.
Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone.
So thank you. So I think that brings us to our last topic. So End or Paul, I'm not sure who's going to chime in on this, but a little bit on all the marketing stuff that we're gearing up here as we come into launch.
Yeah, so that's a question obviously that we've had for a while now. When marketing? We are extremely eager to start going ham on social media and other places to start pumping this up. Obviously, we all know that crypto is an attention economy, short-lived attention spans. So I think we've said this a number of times. We're trying to time it perfectly to close to the launch to try and attract as much attention and thus attract as much TVL as possible. So we're working on explainer videos, kind of fun meme videos, working on getting all the docs prepared so that they're prepped in advance. We have comms with other protocols in the space to help boost the signal, and looking into some more traditional stuff as well. But again, you know, we had that campaign with Zeely, which was really successful, had lots of attention, even if it was just some people that were trying to farm the the token rewards. But we got a lot in the pipeline, and we're really excited about it. And yeah, and I think maybe even Sharp, if you want to chime in on, I think one of the things that we've been talking about is the most important thing to strike while the iron is hot is going to be our bootstrapping campaign. So
yeah, for sure. So in order to really kickstart the project growth, we're going to allocate a budget for the bootstrapping campaign, which is going to incentivize LPs to deposit into Autopilot. And then, as I explained, you have this direct correlation between TVL and the rewards generated for the system. And this is going to ensure that we have traction from the get-go.
Yeah. So
and I'll just say, we've once again found ourselves with like a very clean, sort of intuitive narrative for our marketing. I mean, the ticker auto ETH, automated staked ETH, like that alone is such an advantage. Everything has been very natural as we try to generate assets and generate like a story to tell for this upcoming campaign. And I think we're in a real good spot for it. Once again, there's like this big sort of easily visualized and, metaphoric or whatever narrative for the product that both makes sense and is again, like sort of easy to share to other people, easy to explain to other people. This one's almost more compelling. It's very simple. The product couldn't be more widely relevant, right? Anybody who holds ETH can use Autopilot and probably should. And it has advantages for people who are big in size and small in size as well. So it's very universally applicable, and we've sort of designed a campaign that is meant to be universally appealing and educational for everybody. We've got some very unconventional marketing assets as well that I'm very excited to put out there part of the launch, and generally have just been trying to sit on this so that we don't, get all this attention and then people forget about us before they're able to use the product. It's timing is everything, as I think everybody knows. We're as excited, and we want to do this as much as everybody else on the call. Trust me.
And as Paul was saying, first we'll be focused on ETH LP exposure, but we want to then quickly expand beyond that, and thinking about Autopilot as a generalized form of LP aggregation. So any LP that is providing liquidity to a given trading pair, be it a correlated asset class like ETH LST pools or stablecoin pools, or any type of trading pairs for that matter, can benefit from LP aggregation as long as the option set allows it. Meaning that if you have several DEXs that can be destinations for liquidity, you're better off having a dynamic LP exposure rather than a dumb static LP exposure. And this is really what we want to pioneer.
Great.
Looks like I was on mute. Yep, go ahead, Ed.
No, I was just going to say, and at the end of the day, back to the bootstrapping campaign is we're in DeFi, and probably the best marketing you can do in DeFi is a type of campaign such as that to attract TVL, and that attracts attention. So
yeah, I didn't mention some of the details. So we are still under some considerations for the bootstrapping campaign, but we're inclined to conduct the bootstrapping campaign in ACC toke, meaning that when the LPs claim their toke, it will be locked for a given amount of time. And this is not only to minimize any type of sell pressure, it's also to make sure that LPs understand what it feels like to be a stakeholder in the protocol and earn auto ETH rewards. So making them part of the platform itself. So on that sense, also growing the community instead of just incentivizing farm and dump loop.
Yep, this is going to be done in a very sustainable way, and we've put a lot of thought towards this, and we'll be sharing a lot more on that as well. So I think we've hit all the things for this call. There's going to be a lot more coming now. As the URL gets dropped in there, definitely play around with the site, ask us questions, give us feedback. And then we're going to hear a whole lot more from us on tokenomics. And then each week we'll be having an update here going into between now and to the alpha launch. So a lot to come. We're all excited. We know it's been a long time coming, and this product's going to deliver. We're excited.
Great. Thanks everyone for coming. I'll drop that link to the demo site shortly in the announcements channel. So be on the lookout for that. And we're eager to hear some of your feedback. So thanks so much, everyone, for coming. We will post the recording shortly so that if you missed it or if you only caught a little bit of it, you can go back and listen again. So thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Al.